So take the next few moments to kind of acclimate yourself to the mat and to the floor. Maybe shift the hips a little side to side. You might even find that you want to just draw the knees into the chest just a little bit, just to release that lumbar portion of your spine. You tuck the shoulders in just a little bit so they start to relax towards the mat. And then bring a little bit of attention into the back of the neck. Maybe lifting the chin, lifting the head, tucking the chin just a little. And then move your attention up to your jaw. Letting the jaw relax, the throat. A little space between your eyebrows. And as you come through your next few rounds of breath, take a moment to select your drishti, your focus point, your anchor, whatever that is to you. Inevitably, as the thoughts start to creep in and want to join your practice, you have that kind of lighthouse to draw yourself back to guide you back to your mat, back to the present moment. Now let's just start to get a little active. Depending on where your legs are, maybe extend them long, point the toes, draw the arms up overhead, take a gentle full body stretch. And then as the arms start to release back down by the sides, put a bend in the knees, and then draw the knees into the chest. Just use the hands on the knees to create a little bit of leverage to draw the knees in a little deeper. Maybe even rocking side to side on the back, just massaging the spine, nervous system. And then eventually just allow your body to settle into a little bit of stillness. Place the left foot on the mat and interlace the hands around that right knee and start to guide the knee up and over towards the right shoulder, just outside of the rib cage. Coming into wind removing pose, opening the hips, and if you want to deepen that stretch, go ahead and start to extend that left leg long. While we hold here for a few breaths, maybe use this opportunity to bring a little focus into that right ankle. Some ankle rotations, maybe look into the toes. Soften that grip on that knee just slightly, but keeping it bent. Take the left hand outside of that right knee and start to guide it over to the left side, coming into a spinal twist. So you have that left hand there to kind of hold and brace that knee, and then maybe extend the right arm out to the side. Just allowing the body to relax, giving it just a little bit of a yin and tension. Just holding the pose, letting that stretch deepen through the back, hip, outside of the right hip. Take one more breath here. Maybe there's a little bit more depth to be found. And then let's slowly start to shift that right hip back down towards the mat. Keep the bend in that right knee, and then when the hip lands, bring the left knee in to meet it just for a moment. And then we're going to set that left foot down, cross the right ankle onto the knee. Let the thigh relax so that your just hips can kind of open where they are. You can stay here in figure four, or if you wish to deepen, you can pick that figure four up. Spread the hands behind that left thigh. As you hold here for a few more breaths, just make sure that you're not creating extra or unnecessary tension in the shoulders. If you've taken that bind, go ahead and start to release that left foot down onto the mat. Uncross that right ankle and maybe adjust the hips if you feel like they came out of your center line. Let's extend those legs long. Draw those arms up overhead, back to the full body stretch. Now we're going to shift to Tadasana. So leave the hips where they are and start to walk the fingers and the toes over to the left side. So the focus is to create a nice long line of stretch and length through that right side, also opening up that right hip from all that compression that we created there. Very slowly start to shift everything back to center. The arms are going to come back down by the side. The knees are going to come back into the chest, and we're going to take that whole little series now on the other side. Coming into one removing pose on the left side, set that right foot down, interlace those hands around the left knee. Using the leverage of the arms, creating that compression, and then if you wish to deepen, slide that right leg out long. You gave a little attention to the ankle on the right side, make sure that you do the same thing on the left. Gently beginning to come into that spinal twist. So soften the grip. Start to guide that left knee now over to the right side. Same thing, have the hand on the outside of that knee for a little bit of assistance, and then maybe bring that left arm out to the side. These moments where we're holding poses and being a little bit still is a good opportunity for you to practice your focus. Practice being present. Practice releasing those thoughts. Slowly start to shift out, bring that left hip back down to the mat. That bend stays in that left knee. Bring the right knee in to meet it just for a moment. And then set that right foot down across that left ankle on to the knee. Knee the figure four now on the other side. Always taking a moment to allow the quad muscles and the pelvis to soften. And then if you wish to take the bind, you can pick that up and interlace behind the right thigh. Acknowledging the shoulders, letting them relax if they started to pick up any tension. And slowly start to release that bind. That right foot lands, uncross that left ankle. Adjust the hips if they need to, and then extend the legs out long, arms come back overhead. Coming into Tadasana now on the other side, so fingertips and toes now move over to the right. All that length and opening now to the left side of the body. And then just start to come back to center. Place the feet back on the mat, bring the arms back down by the sides, and then just roll to your right or to your left. Just to transition. Rest yourself up, and we're going to come around onto our bellies. When you get there, just take a moment and resting pose. So elbows are out to the side, the palms are stacked, and the forehead just rests on the back of the hand. Just as you did when I had you come onto your back, you might want to just shift them side to side a little, acclimating onto your belly. You can stay here in stillness, and just in your breath and your focus, or if you want to bend the knees, you can windshield wiper the feet. Draw circles with the feet. You end up taking the circles with the feet, just make sure you go in both directions. Eventually just let that go, settle back into stillness for a moment, find that focus point. Let's rotate the elbows, in towards the rib cage. Fingertips are spread wide underneath the shoulders. Bring some engagement into the legs. Press the tops of the feet into the mat. Maybe even keep the eyes closed if you wish. You can practice that focus. And with the next inhale, just lift the chin, open the chest, little baby cobra. Exhale, release down. Just do that 2 more times. Inhaling to rise. Exhale, release. That third breath, you're going to exhale, you're going to release the chin back down towards the mat. And then I'm going to have you bring your hands to the side off of the mat. Maybe even tent the fingers a little bit. Or you can place the palms on the floor, whatever's more comfortable for you. So your elbows are up towards the ceiling. Now we're going to inhale, lift a baby cobra, and you're going to shift the chin towards the right shoulder. And then exhale, release back down to center. And then with the next inhale, you lift and the chin comes to the left shoulder. Just take 2 more full rounds. 2 more times to each side. And after that final round, the chin comes down towards the mat. Bring those palms back underneath the shoulders and start to press ourselves up to tabletop. Continuing to find your balance, find your foundation. So palms somewhere underneath the shoulders, hips somewhere underneath the knees, just wherever you feel most stable, and then lift on that place between the shoulder blades. Option to continue, keep the eyes closed, and then with the next inhale, lift the chin, press the tailbone up towards the ceiling, the belly drop, hold for just a moment, continuing to breathe. And then next time you cycle to an exhale, Press the floor away, draw that chin to chest, pull that tailbone in, nice and exaggerated, hold for a moment. And now just alternate between the two. Continuing to give all of our focus to our back, our spine. Please settle into a little bit of stillness. Keep some engagement in that belly so you have your balance. And then walk your palms forward a little. Let's shift the hips towards the mat. Come into seal pose. Put a little bend in the elbows if you need. The arms are there for support. Lift the chin. Pull out of the shoulders. And then start to release the hips back towards the heels, coming into child's pose. Let the fingertips stay where they are, so there's a lot of length in the arms. And then let's ripple up through child's pose. You can even get the spine involved. And then shift the hips back to seal. Let's just alternate between the two. Option to stay in seal or stay in child's pose as well. All this warm-up movement is just opportunity for you to kind of get in tune with where you're at physically and then recognizing what it is that you need. Slowly shift yourself through one more round if you're taking movement. And then eventually landing in that child's pose. And allowing yourself to relax. So the arms can come in. Maybe they sweep down by the side, come into embryo pose. You can widen the knees a little if you wish. One more breath right where you are. Depending on where those hands ended up, start to bring the palms to the mat. Let's shift ourselves back up to our tabletop. And we're going to tuck the toes, lift the hips, come into downward facing dog. Use this time here, really let the head hang heavy, pedal out the feet, you can roll into the ankles. So this goes to the posterior side of the body, the backs of the legs, the back, the neck, also the chest, and underneath the arms. So here for one more breath, and then let's bring the gaze between the hands, start to walk the feet forward, coming into ragdoll. Forward fold. Find movement here. Continuing to stretch out the backs of the legs. Just remember to let the head hang heavy. You can sway side to side and just come into stillness. Be sure that the feet are underneath you, creating a lot of support. So bring them where they're most comfortable. They don't necessarily have to be together. And then with the next breath, let's inhale, halfway lengthen. Straighten the legs, bring the hands to the shin, the back is flat. Gazes to the mat, hold for a moment. It's just a nice variation on downward facing dog because you don't have all that weight in your wrists, your hands. Let's slowly release back to forward fold. Really engage in the legs nice and strong, and then slowly start to round all the way up. Sweep those arms wide, palms meet overhead, and then the hands draw down, the heart center, the eyes close. Just take a moment. And then you can Come into Tadasana, release the hands down by the sides. If you guys want to turn around so you can see me, you're not facing the mirror.
No, I think you saw it.
Well, I kind of picked up on that, like I just like to go this way so we don't have to stare at ourselves in the mirror. That way
I think when I went to my belly, I got.
one less distraction. So let's start in Tadasana, and maybe even take a moment, just start with the feet, rock back and forth on the soles of the feet. Just find those four corners. Like I said, bring your feet underneath you where it feels most natural, where you feel like you have the most stability, and then work your way up. Engage the quads, engage the belly, lift on the top of the head. Draw the shoulder blades together just a little so you have that opening across the collarbones. Back of the neck is long. Hands are down by the sides, fingers facing towards the floor. Just take a breath here with that nice, strong, tall posture. And then with the next breath, let's inhale the arms up overhead, interlace the fingers, and then flip the palms over, and you're going to reach up and over to the left. Getting a little stretch through that right side. And then back up through center. Let's take that over to the right. And then slowly back to center. As we release our hands down to the side, you can start with your hands on your hips. You're going to pick up that right foot. So what we're going to do is we're going to cycle on each side, and then each time we're going to add a pose. We're going to kind of hold just for a breath or two. So I want you to linger there for a moment. Let's shift the weight onto that right foot. Let's step the left foot back. And we're going to come into goddess pose. So bend the knees, put a bend in the elbows, create some heat in those thighs. Take a breath here, and then let's inhale up, come into star pose, straighten out, find lots of length and opening. And then our arms are going to come down just a little. We're going to rotate the feet. We're going to come in warrior two. So the right toes are going to turn towards the top of the mat. Put a bend in the knee, nice and strong. Gaze right over top of those fingertips. And then we're going to flip the front palm up, reach up and over, exalted. Rotate, windmill back, pausing in warrior two. Then we're going to straighten that front leg. We're going to bring the arms up, come back through star. Bend the knees, bend the elbows, come into goddess. And as you straighten the legs, you can bring your hands back to your hips. You're going to turn those right toes towards the top of the mat. Push off, step forward, land right back into Tadasana. Back to breath for a moment, and we're going to do that whole same series now on the other side. So let's inhale those hands up and release the fingers, flip the palms over. This time we're going to reach up and over to the left first. And then come back up through center. Switch over to the right. Back to center, release the hands, bring the hands to the hips. Shift the weight into that left foot, step the right foot back. Take a moment, then come into goddess. Settling in here. Breath, create a little heat. Straighten those arms, straighten those legs, open up star pose. And then bring the arms by the sides, or kind of down, sorry, not by the sides. Left toes turn, find the warrior two. Nice and strong, lots of engagement here. Flip the front palm, reach the fingertips up towards the ceiling, exalted. Let's slowly come back, warrior two. Straighten the arms, straighten the legs, turn the toes, open up to star. The goddess. Legs straighten, hands come to the hips. Left toes turn now towards the top of the mat. Step forward, come in your Tadasana. Turn and face this way, because what we're going to do is we're going to add on, and then that way we're all facing the same direction, so you guys can kind of see where we're going. So from here, we're gonna inhale the hands up, palms are gonna touch. But then as we exhale, we're gonna keep that length in our spine. You're gonna bring the hands down behind the back, place the palms into the small of the back, and let's draw the shoulder blades and the elbows together. Lift the chin. Just a little, continue to breathe, just a little heart opener. And then let's slowly come back to center. Let the head come back to neutral. Release the hands. We're going to shift the weight onto that right foot. We're going to pick the left foot up. We're going to step it back. We're going to come into goddess. Inhale, lengthen out, straighten up. Star pose. Left toes turn towards the top of the mat. Take your warrior two. Flip the front palm, reach up, exalted. Now bring the attention to those fingertips. We're going to windmill the hands around, come into extended side angle. Reach those fingertips, create that length on the right side. And then let's windmill back. Warrior two. Turn the toes, open up, star pose. Bend the knees, bend the elbows, goddess. Straighten the legs, and then come to the hips, right toes, turn towards the top of the mat, step forward, back to Tadasana. We pedal the knees out. Next breath, inhale up, palms are going to touch. Exhale, hands release to the small of the back again. Opening up, lifting. Let the head come back to neutral. Shift the weight into that left foot, pick the right foot up, step it back. Coming into goddess pose now on right side. Engage those quads, you've been here before. Lengthen out, open up, star pose. Mindful of the neck here, don't create any compression. Left toes turn towards, right toes turn towards the top of the mat. Sorry, find your warrior two. Flip that front palm up and over, exalted. Windmill around, warrior two. I'm sorry, extended side angle. Reach to those left fingertips, draw them back, come back to that warrior two. Straighten that front leg, turn the toes, open up star. Exhale, release goddess. Straighten the arms, straighten the legs, hands can come to the hips. Left toes turn towards the top of the mat, let's step forward. Come the knees out a little. So through this next round, and then from, just so you know where we're going. So when we're in warrior two, we exalt, we come to extended side angle. The only thing that we're adding on now is we're going to straighten that front leg, and you're going to come into triangle pose. But I'm going to talk a little less and allow you to flow a little bit more. Okay. So let's come back to Tadasana. Let's inhale, arms up overhead, interlace the fingers, release the index fingers, and point those index fingers tall up towards the ceiling. Let's exhale, release over to the left. Draw up through center, over to the right. Back through center. When you find that center point, release those hands. They can come down to the hips for a moment, shift the weight to the right foot, step back. Goddess. Sorry, stop. No, goddess. Sorry. Star. Two to the back of the room. Exalted. Windmill around, extended side angle. So So release that right hand around, bring the hand to the hip, and then straighten the front leg. Slide that left hand down the shin. Bring the attention to the top of the head. Bring the top of the head up towards the ceiling. Put a bend in the knee. Come back to that warrior two. Straighten the arms, straighten the legs, star. Legs, hands to the hips, turn to the top of the mat, step forward, come back to the Tadasana, and knees out. Coming through that series again now to the right. So let's inhale, arms up, and notice the fingers, release those index fingers, reach up and over now to the right. That's a good side stretching today. Up through center, release left. As you come back to center, release those interlaced fingers, hands can start at the hips. Pick that right foot up, step it back. Back into goddess. An up star. Warrior two, back of the room. Exalted. Moving all around through warrior two, extended side angle. Release that left hand down to the hip. Straighten that front leg. You can slide that right hand to the shin for support. Draw that left shoulder back. Bring your attention to the top of the head. Start to draw the top of the head up towards the ceiling. Put the bend back in the knee. Gaze comes right over top of those fingertips. You're back in your warrior two. Straighten the arms, straighten the legs. It's just star. Knees and elbows bend, goddess. Straighten out, bring the hands to the hips. Turn those toes towards the top of the mat, step forward. And let's come back into our Tadasana. And then let's reset with a quarter sun salute. So let's inhale, hands up. Exhale, forward fold. Put a bend in the knees. Let the head hang heavy for a moment. Inhale, halfway lengthen. Exhale, release. Press into the feet, engage the legs, coming up nice and strong. Palms are going to touch overhead. Hands draw down through heart center as the eyes close. Just taking a moment, back to that drishti, back to that focus point. It's a moment to acknowledge how your body feels. Next breath, let's sweep those arms up overhead again. Exhale, forward folds. And then this is just a place to transition to come onto our sit bone. So if I bring my fingertips to the floor, step your right foot back and your left to your knees. Let's swing your legs around. So however it's comfortable for you to find those sit bones. Option here to even use a bolster, edge of a blanket, or roll up your mat just underneath the sit bones if you wish. We're going to come into wide leg forward fold. So extend your legs out to the side. You might even want to bring your hands, tens of fingertips to each side of the hips, kind of shift the hips side to side and see where you're at. You might find that you need to close the distance between your feet a little, or maybe you want to open them a little bit more. And then find equal weight in both sit bones, and then from those sit bones, draw all the way up to spine, top of the head. Sit yourself up nice and tall, and then exhale, forward fold. You have those fingertips there for support. You're very mindful of the low back here. Just settling into the stretch. More breath here. And then start to bring the attention to the top of the head. So the top of the head makes its way back up towards the ceiling. Sit yourself up nice and tall. Pull the shoulder blades together. And then leave that right leg long and come into half butterfly. So put a bend in that left knee. Bottom of the left foot comes in towards that right leg. And then you're going to square off towards those right toes. And then forward fold over that leg. Back up towards the ceiling, set yourself up nice and tall, and then kind of square yourself off to the shin of your left leg, and then let's forward fold over that bent left knee. Let's start to come back up to center. Let's bring our fingertips, tendon fingertips behind us for a little bit of support as we switch legs. So now that left leg is going to go long and that right knee is going to bend. Half butterfly pose on the other side. And then square yourself off to those left toes. Forward fold over that left leg. Let's slowly come back up to center. Now you're going to bring your chest towards that right shin. Start to forward fold over that bent right leg. Start to bring the top of the head back towards the ceiling. Bring those tendon fingertips behind you. Straighten the legs out in front of you. And then maybe windshield wiper the feet just a little. And we're going to come into a variation on Swan Pose. We're going to continue to work into the hips. And we are going to start with that left leg. So you're going to take your right leg and you're going to bend it so that the right foot is kind of over by that right shin. No, sorry, your right hip. And then put a bend in that left leg. So then the shin runs parallel with the chest. That right sit bone might lift off the mat just a little bit, but that's fine. I want you to come into your posture, sit yourself up nice and tall, and then you're going to start to forward fold over that left leg. You're going to be able to feel that sensation in that hip, like we were doing Swan Pose. We just don't have the leg extended behind us. Using your hands for support, start to walk fingertips back in and top of the head back up towards the ceiling. And then just as you did before, bring those 10 fingertips behind you so that then you can extend the legs out long. And then we're just gonna switch that to the other side. So the left leg now is gonna bend. Right shin comes parallel to the chest. Find your posture. And then come into your forward fold. Just as you did on the other side, use those hands for support to bring yourself back upright. Shift fingertips behind you again. Extend the legs out long. Come into a seated spinal twist, and we're going to come onto our mats. So come back in, find those sit bones. Let's keep the left leg long, put a bend in the right knee. If you have a little bit more flexibility, you can cross the right foot all the way over the left and place the bottom of the left foot, the right foot on the outside of that left leg. Otherwise, just keep the right foot inside. And then bringing your interlaced fingers around that knee, use it as a little bit of leverage. Just sit yourself up nice and tall. Pull those shoulder blades together, and then let's take a twist to the right. You can bring the 10 fingertips behind you in the right hand for a little bit of support. And then maybe you'll find that you can start to bring the chin back towards that right shoulder. So just always aware of your range of motion. Try not to challenge that too much, but also creating some sensation and some depth within that stretch. So then let's start to close that right shoulder, bring it back to center. We're just going to switch sides. Now you're going to extend that right leg long. Bend is in the left knee. Check back in with your posture, your sit bones, and release your fingers. Sit yourself up nice and tall. And then start to twist now to the left. One more big breath here if you want to go just a smidge deeper. And then start to bring yourself back to center. Extend that left leg long. You might find, depending on where you ended up on your mat, you're going to scoot your sit bones forward a little bit. And then you have the hands behind you. Start to recline yourself down onto that. So just as we did when we laid down here at the beginning of class, maybe shift the hips side to side. Just giving the spine an opportunity to acclimate, relax into the mat, shoulders soften. And then just to release that lumbar, let's bring the knees back into the chest just for a moment. And then let's extend the toes up towards the ceiling, simulating legs up the wall. You can even soften them just a little. Don't create too much tension there. Let the shoulders relax towards the mat, especially if you have the hands on the backs of the legs for support. And then keeping the legs where they are, soften them a lot, put a bend in the knees, let everything relax, bring the hands up to meet, come into dead bug. From here, you may even find that you want to rock side to side. I don't know what it is about this silly pose. I just, for some reason, I think it feels really good. And then eventually settle into some stillness. Let's bend the knees and release to reclined bound angles with the soles of the feet are going to come together. Knees float over to the side. And the thighs relax. The If you have some type of support and you want to place them underneath the knees, that you can. Arms can be by this down, and you can have your hands, palms on your belly. You can have the palms on the floor beside you, or maybe even bring the arms up overhead. If you haven't already, close the eyes, let the jaw relax, let the thigh muscles soften. Bring your awareness into your knees. Start to draw the knees back up towards the ceiling. And then when the feet lands on the mat, shift the hips slightly to the left, and just let the knees fall over to the right. Just bringing it to a nice soft spinal twist. Just as you did about an ankle, let the attention come right into those knees. Just bring the knees back up towards the ceiling. Feet land. Now the hips are going to go just to the right, and the knees will fall over to the left. Bend the knees one more time. Let them come back up towards the ceiling. This time when the feet land, shift the hips back into your midline and then widen the feet and just thigh muscles relax. Feel the knees touch. Next few moments to think about how you want to close your practice, how you want to spend your Tadasana. And then when you feel ready, you can start to make your way there. Seeking more of a place of comfort that resonates with you. Maybe different than traditional Tadasana to be. And when you get there, just remember to take that nice, deep, full, clearing breath, inhaling through the nose, exhaling out of the mouth, letting everything go, knowing that I will be here to bring you back when it's time. You need to draw your awareness back just enough so that you can think about how you feel. Always my intention to have you close your practice feeling balanced, slightly energized, but also slightly relaxed. Be a little bit more open, a little bit more aware. And take a moment of gratitude for that, for how you feel. Even if you don't feel a lot different than when you came in here, it's gratitude for just the acknowledgement, the opportunity to be still enough with yourself to recognize that. Gratitude for yourself always for taking a moment out of your day for you. Love, the light, the truth, and the beauty within each of you because it is also within me. You have a wonderful day. Namaste.